Hey guys, welcome to Canon Fodder TV and more importantly, the voice of reason. Now, I've had a very eventful week. If any of you have been following me on Twitter this week, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm going to get into that because a lot of it goes back to mentality. And that all ties into Mustafi's comments as well, which we're going to talk about. But first things first, Arsenal beat Southampton 2-0. We're back in the top four. I can't complain. Very professional performance from Arsenal. And with Man United dropping points, we're right in there. We are right in the mix for top four. And if you'd offered me this at the start of the season, where we're in the top four around end of February, I would have taken it. So for me, we are doing very well, and Unai Emery is doing a great job. So I can't complain. I really can't complain. We play Bournemouth on Wednesday night, the same night when this goes live. So hopefully we can pick up 3 points in that. Chelsea play Tottenham. I can see Chelsea dropping points in that one, if I'm honest. And on Chelsea, actually, what we've seen in the cup final, really, it's not just a Chelsea problem, what happened in the cup final. This is a football problem, full stop. Player power is ever present in the game, more than ever. And us as fans, we allow it to happen because as long as it gets a manager out that we don't want, we're willing to accept it. That's what we've done the last 2 seasons. And I don't mean us, the fans, I mean the players. The players have basically chose not to play for the manager the last 2 years. Chelsea, they have this problem with player power, and to be honest, I feel sorry for Sarri. I really do. What happened at the weekend was an absolute disgrace. Liverpool, we've seen it happen with them under Rodgers. United, under the last few managers, Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho. I mean, it just shows what modern football is about, really. And us as a culture, we need to knuckle down on this shit and just nip it in the bud. But I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. I see it getting worse and worse, if I'm being totally honest with you. But on to what Mustafi said. His words were, and I quote, "I don't mind conceding goals as long as Arsenal win." Now, I've talked about mentality before, and I don't just mean the players when I say that. I mean the Arsenal fan base as a whole, because we apparently are just some people just indulge this loser mentality. And I had an argument with Mike from the Gunners podcast, or formerly known as the Gunners in USA podcast, about this. And Mike was saying that it was taken out of context. Now, to me, there's nothing taken out of context about this. Like, how a professional footballer can have that attitude. If that's your attitude, you shouldn't be in the game, period. Right? But how can a Premier League defender have that attitude? Would you see Tony Adams having that attitude? No. Would you see Martin Keown having that attitude? No. Would you see Vincent Kompany having that attitude? No. No. Would you see, I don't know, Steve Bold having that attitude? And I mean as a player, not as an assistant coach. No. No, you wouldn't. It all goes back to this loser mentality amongst this club, right? For the last 3-4 years, the culture at this football club has been rotten from top to bottom. And I mean that from the board to the ex-manager to the players to the fan base. This loser mentality where it's all right to concede goals, it just seems so foreign to me. Like, why? No one tell me that clean sheets aren't important in the modern game. Of course they are. If you want to win the big trophies, which is what all of us want, if you want to win the big trophies, you have to keep clean sheets the majority of the time. Why do you think Man City are as dominant as they are? Because they keep clean sheets the majority of the time. Liverpool now, they keep more clean sheets now. They didn't used to, but they do now. The teams that challenge for the title keep clean sheets more often than not. Yes, they'll concede goals now and then, but will they keep clean sheets the majority of the time? Yes. Yes. Don't ever tell me that clean sheets don't matter, because they do. They do. And don't ever tell me that it's okay to concede goals when it's not. How do we all feel about our club when we concede? Are we pissed off? I am, because whenever I see a goal go in, I see shock and defending. Are we supposed to be all right with shock and defending now? Is that what we're getting at? Again, it all goes back to mentality. If you're fine with conceding goals and not being worried about clean sheets, fine. But I'm not. I'm not born that way. I was raised in an era where clean sheets were important, and if you concede a goal, then someone's fucked up. That's simple. But I'm not going to say any more on that. Now, the Southampton game. I'll go into it more in depth than I did before. Iwobi and Mkhitaryan played very well, I thought. Played very well. Mkhitaryan's a very frustrating player, but he will make things happen from time to time. Iwobi, whenever he plays, there's never a time where I've thought he's not going to do something. Because he'll always do something. He'll always do something. And, sorry, first of all, his end product in the final third. Yes, it's not great, but one thing you can always say about Iwobi is he'll always create something. He'll always try. And that's why Emery continues to pick him. Iwobi at this point is tried and trusted. And to be honest with you, I'd rather Iwobi in the side than Mesut Ozil. And I'm not saying Mesut Ozil played bad at the weekend. All I'm saying is, if it comes down to choosing between Mesut Ozil and Alex Iwobi, I pick Alex Iwobi just because of what he contributes. Mesut Ozil barely contributes. He did it the weekend, but he rarely does that now. So, that's just the way I look at things. Southampton didn't really threaten us. They're a poor side. They are. Hassan Hüttl's a good manager, but there's only so much you can get out of that side. And I think he's realising that now. And to be honest, I hope they get relegated because I can't stand Southampton. But on to the cup final. Now, for me, Sarri got it spot on. Man City just looked out of ideas. I mean, Sarri really did do a number on Pep at the weekend. He really did. They held them off for 120 minutes, which is more than they did, way more than they did before. And there was a couple of times when the referee bottled decisions. I thought Aguero's goal should have stood because it was onside. Pedro could have got one, but instead he passes it to Hazard for whatever reason. But the main talking point of the game on Sunday is what Kepa did. And this isn't just a Chelsea problem. This is a football problem in general, right? Chelsea are at a crossroads as a football club. It's either stick with Sarri, which I believe they should, and get rid of these selfish pricks that they have, or sack Sarri and stick with the selfish pricks. And player power is something that is ever present in the game now. Ever present. We've seen it at Arsenal the last 2 years under the ex-manager, where the majority of the players wanted him out. We've seen it at Liverpool under Rodgers. We've seen it at United under Moyes, Van Gaal and Mourinho. We've seen it. There's more clubs that have had this issue, I'm sure. But this is a cultural problem in the English game, I think. I mean, it all comes down to the club taking control. And what United have done with Solskjaer, I don't think United have taken control of the situation, but they've appointed someone who will have the respect of the players. So I suppose you could look at that and think they have taken control of the situation. With us, we did what we should have done and just gotten rid of the problem, which was the manager. It wasn't the players that was the problem. It was the manager. But that doesn't make what they did to get the guy out all right. I was all for the guy going, but the players were a disgrace in their own right. So you got to look at it in that sense. With Liverpool, I do think Brendan Rodgers is a good manager, but he just couldn't take them any further than he did. He hit a ceiling, and I think that's when his time at Liverpool expired, and he just stayed on far too long. With Chelsea, this has happened a few times. The last few managers that they've appointed, I mean, you could go back as far as Villas-Boas if you wanted to. That's how long it's existed. Player power at Chelsea got the most successful manager in that club's history out the door in Jose Mourinho after he won them a title. It did the same thing to Conte. And Conte is a serial winner. Like, I do not care what people say about Conte. I still rate him as a manager. I always will. What he did at Juve was nothing short of amazing. And what he did with Italy in the Euros, listen, Conte is still a good manager. And if we didn't have Emery, Conte would be my next realistic choice. Because of the fact that he's a serial winner and that he's won titles in one of the biggest leagues in Europe. So and he won a title with Chelsea. So Conte's not a bad manager, but player power got him expunged. And it looks like it's going to do the same with Sarri. But where the line was crossed at the weekend, when your number is up, right? When the substitute board goes up and your number is on there, you should be coming off. You don't argue it, you don't dispute it, you're off. Simple as that. The manager's word goes. It should be the same at every football club. Yet Kepa thinks that he's above Sarri now. Nah, that is a disgrace. An absolute disgrace. Right? And I don't blame Sarri whatsoever for reacting the way he did. Anyone in that situation would have reacted the exact same way. And to me, if I'm Sarri, I'm never playing Kepa again. You can't have that at a football club. You can't. You cannot have a player defy your authority in a cup final, no less. In fact, never mind in a cup final. You can't have a player defy your authority, period. And Sarri was being all diplomatic about it in the post-match interview that he did. I don't believe for a minute that it was a misunderstanding. And Kepa's social media posts, like, come on, man. You're telling me you weren't defying the manager? Bullshit. Bullshit. But player power is something that needs to be expunged, at least in my opinion. But we move on to Bournemouth on the Wednesday, which should be fun. Hopefully we can get 3 points in that. I'm sure Chelsea will drop points. And United, you never know. You never know. They'll probably get 3 points as well. So we just have to keep winning. That's all we can do. But until next time on The Voice of Reason, I'll see you in a bit.